Welcome to the All Access Podcast from the experts at Tevis. Each episode, we'll talk about technology topics, trends, or solutions that manufacturers need to know in today's rapidly evolving times. Sit back, enjoy the discussion, and let us know what you think.
Hello, my manufacturing friends. Welcome. This is the All Access Podcast. I am your host, Michael Thiessen. And we're coming to you during a very hot and steamy summer. Well, but we're in an air-conditioned room and everything is hunky-dory over here. And I'm extremely excited for this particular podcast. Actually, I've been waiting for this podcast for almost over a year to have these two individuals on the show here. Because it takes so long to break through and to make sure that we have carved out an hour of our time and make sure that all of our schedules kind of coincide so that we can come to you in today's episode. So this is, like I said, I'm extremely excited to have these two individuals on. One person I've met, it was almost 2 years ago. I think it was during the April time. We met in Europe, and we had a lovely time filming over there, our open house. And so we have this individual on. He is one of the prominent individuals from the MTDCNC group over in the UK. Yes, he is our British friend from over there, but nevertheless, he is extremely knowledgeable. He has been a huge powerhouse in terms of talking about manufacturing and talking what is dear to his heart, which is manufacturing as a whole. And so we have Tom Skubala on from MTDCNC. He has been a huge presenter of the manufacturing industry. He helps businesses and navigates best practices. He's really committed in helping you, the customer, in the operations and the overall operations, making sure that you're more efficient and have every potential unlocked on your CNC. So I'm extremely excited to have him on the podcast. And then, of course, I'm going to put him last because otherwise his head just gets too big, because we have Tony Gunn on this particular podcast too. I can see Tom already going, yeah, but no, we got Tony Gunn on. And if you've not been on YouTube or on any of the video sites, you must have run into Tony Gunn with MTDCNC over here in the US. And he's actually broadcasting from all over the country all the time, looking at and highlighting your companies on what you do and what you do best and what you stand for. And I'm extremely thrilled to have him on this particular podcast too, to give his insight and know-how and knowledge of what he has experienced and what Tom has experienced in the two different, or in all the different continents that they have been on. I think Tony has been on in over 80 countries that he has visited. He has a successful podcast that he's operating. He is just this huge mega personality, or I should say celebrity, man. By this time I'm gonna take my bows and leave, because I cannot stand to be with these two people because they're just so huge. So, but nevertheless, I'm going to stick around because these two gentlemen, they're extremely important to the industry. Tom, Tony, welcome to the All Access Podcast.
Thank you, Michael. Absolutely.
I know you're stunned right now. You don't have any words to say. I get it. I totally understand.
Oh, well, I can't walk through the door anymore. But I was looking at Tom. Tom's trying not to laugh. Head's getting swollen up. I mean, thank you for the introduction. That was incredible.
I tell you what, halfway through that introduction, I couldn't see anything behind Tony. It was just all head. His webcam was just full of Tony's head. But no, Michael, that is the nicest introduction I've ever had. So thank you very much for that.
Well, normally you don't get introductions like this because normally you guys are introducing the individuals that are there, and you may highlighting these hugely successful companies no matter where you go. So of course you don't guys get the accreditation that you deserve. You're like the Mike Rowe to the CNC operations and the manufacturing. So kudos to both of you guys of highlighting and putting such a magnifying glass on the manufacturing industry that I love so much. So thank you both of you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's all look. I think you and I have seen Tom about the same amount of time frame, actually. So it's a pleasure for me to see and talk to Tom. Last time I saw him, I think, was emo almost 2 years ago, and that was awesome. So thank you for putting this together so we can all talk to each other.
It was. I got to give all credit to my assistant Christine of put everything together here. I know we've been going back and forth, and Tom, it was since the last time we saw each other at the open house at Tevis, where we both said, "Hey, we need to get together on this podcast." And then Tony and I ran into each other at one of the exhibitions, and we had some lovely conversations over here. And we also said, "Hey, you need to come on this podcast," and it became really difficult to get all schedules aligned because you two guys are so successful and people flock to you guys like magnets because they see the benefit of what you guys are doing. Tony, what was the last location that you've been at? Where was this in the world?
Oh, that's a good question. It's tough to even remember, honestly, because it is that crazy and it bounces from place to place to place. The most recent one, I was in Mexico for TECMA. And whenever this gets released, I'm sure that will actually change. But let's just say Q1, Q2, it's been Mexico a few times, Brazil a couple of times, Taiwan, India, Germany, Switzerland, all over the U.S. And I think Tom can actually relate to this as well because he's been running all over Europe as well as the U.K. And you know, we're going to get into some topics today that I think are very important. And one of those is tariffs and what has the tariffs done, and we'll get into that more later. But I've heard a lot of breath holding. I guess I'm not sure if you can hear breath holding, but it's like it's like that every time the question comes up, right? What have the tariffs done to you? Oh my gosh, right? And despite what the current climate is, and a lot of opinions that are being thrown out, which we'll get into a little bit later, MTDCNC, we're all over the place. We're still doing everything we can to create this awareness, and so while I can certainly talk about all the different places I've been to, the company successes, the trade shows, the excitement, the joy, you know, Tom's running around like a madman too.
Tom, you can say something now.
Hold on. I'm not done yet.
I'm just waiting for you two to take a breath to try and jump in. But yeah, Tony's right. Like I said, I've got some things on the tariffs for a little bit later on, but we are everywhere. Obviously, everybody knows Lindsay, and Lindsay is just she's trying to catch Tony, I think, on countries at the moment. But yeah, like Tony says, I'm darting around all over the place, but mostly to the UK, and I am up and down this country. My car my car's never got a full tank of fuel in it. It's constantly out, and some of the things we're getting to see, and these are more for topics again later on. Some of the places I visit now are just breathtaking, and what people have embraced. Because obviously we've had hard times recently, so how people have embraced technology to get through them has just been eye-opening. Because I was one of them guys. I came from the shop floor, and I was a typical machinist. Came out the shop floor, I know everything, I know how to do everything. Joined MTD and realised I knew nothing. So it's every day, even now. So I've been at MTD just over 3 years now. And even now, every job I go on, I'm learning something new. And it is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I want to follow up on that real quick, Mike, if that's all right. And just say, Tom, 100% agree with you. 100%. I keep telling people we don't know what we don't know, and that's why the channel is so very important to watch, because when I stepped out of the machine shop and did the same thing, I was like, holy crap, I know about 0.5% of what I need to know of everything that's going on. And this journey of international consulting and being on the media side of things has truly opened my eyes and ears and gratitude to what the world actually offers for everything that we make. And Tom, you're exactly right. I mean, You were a machine shop. I was in a machine shop. We were both machinists, and I knew everything. I mean, I knew the machine shop like the back of my hand. But I stepped out. I was in 3 major machine shops and stepped out of that machine shop into a broader world. And I was like, well, I don't know anything. Good to know. Awesome. Time to start over.
To the both of you, what was the most exciting episode that you guys put to light and put on film that before you walked into, you thought you knew something and you walked out of it at the end of the episode and were completely had this wow factor? What was the most exciting episode that still sticks in the back of your mind? Tom, why don't you start off and see what you got?
There's 2 that sticks in my mind. The first time I visited Citizen, it was the first time I'd ever seen a sliding head machine. And it was the first supplier I'd been to who did that sort of technology. And that just, the speed, the accuracy, what you can do on one of them things was just, I walked out thinking, how do you program this? How do you work it? How do you not just end up with a big tangled mess of material? And then the other one that really sticks in my mind, and it was only last year, this is really good, it was only last year, was I finally got to visit the DMG Mori open house in Fonton. I was a kid in a sweet shop. I turned up with Paul, and Paul was trying to talk to me, and I could not concentrate on anything Paul was saying to me. My eyes were everywhere. And there was moments I was getting, and I can guarantee Tony's been in the exact same situation, where you have a cameraman shouting at you to be somewhere and do it, and you just want to be anywhere else. I was literally, I got my head in machines, I was picking things up, and they're like, the whole point of the day was, where is Tom? We need Tom on set. Where is Tom? And I've got my head in one machine. I'm talking to somebody else about it was just so much technology under one roof. Now, we do open houses, but I'd never been to an open house on that scale. And the people you meet as well. So obviously, I don't do as much traveling as Tony does, but from the events we do, we meet people like you, Michael. And you go to one of these open houses, and there's people just coming up to you and talking to you, and you're like, I'm sure I know you from somewhere. And then you're racking your brain trying to figure out where I know you from. And it's honestly, it was, yeah, they're definitely the 2 that stick in my mind that have really blown me away.
I can tell you this: when you met me a couple years ago, I was probably in your worst nightmare. So let's just leave it there. Tony, what about you, Tony? What's in your mind from some of the technologies you saw?
Oh, I'm going to answer this in just a second, but Tom, you gave me an idea now for the next time you get like a kid in a candy store, you said a sweet shop. We're going to need a Where is Tom, like a Where is Waldo, so you're going to need a striped shirt, and we're going to have to create a skit out of that. Well, like, where the hell is Tom? Where the hell is Waldo, you know?
We could do it in email.
A striped shirt. I want to see you in a striped shirt one of those days.
And didn't he have one of those hats with a big ball on top of it, the Waldo hat? Yeah.
He did. I'll bring that for you.
We'll do
That's
it.
okay. I'll order it off of Amazon, and I'll bring it to you.
Tony, if he wears this, I want to see a picture.
That's our job, is to create pictures, and that's all Tom and I do. So you know you're going to see photos and videos, and we'll probably go live even of Where is Tom.
I know, Tony, you bring the outfit, I'll do the live.
It seems like you reversed that on me. Well done. Very well done. Because you know I'll do it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let me answer this question in a multifaceted way, because as always, I'm going to talk too much. The first one I'm going to say is it's going to pull on my heartstrings because it was important to me, and not everyone agrees with what was being done, but for me, I found a lot of respect in it. And it was actually our friend Joe Amos was over here with me, Tom, one of our camera guys, one of our amazing camera guys. And we actually broke ground at the largest prison in Kentucky. A robot actually put a shovel in the ground and broke ground for the first CNC machine shop with automation in the whole of Kentucky, and I think the whole first one in the country. I know some other work has been done with CNC work, but in this situation, it was unique in the way it was being done with automation, robotics. Companies came together. What we filmed was, it brought me to tears. It was people that were incarcerated for upwards of 15 years that got a job in CNC machinings and shared their story. It was people. It was the warden. I interviewed the governor. Flew in actually on a helicopter. Flew in and joined us on camera. And it was one of those really meaningful ones that could change a lot of lives, and that was important to me. Now, it wasn't about technology. It wasn't about what I had seen. It was just something that meant a lot to me, and
This
it was
personal connection.
Yeah, it mattered to me. I've had growing up. I wasn't the nicest kid. I've had a lot of friends in jail, and
No.
well,
I don't believe that at all.
that's a story for a different day, unless you want to dive into it. But yes, as a teenager, I've seen a lot of people come and go. One of my best friends was killed at a young age, and so that was important to me. When we get to the technology side of things, it's really difficult to name one. I got to be honest. I mean, going through Japan and being in a front row seat and filming at your Nakamura's, your Matsuras, your DMG Moris, your Yazdas, for crying out loud. These companies, Kitamura, don't let me leave that one out. Then going through Europe, going through Germany and seeing, Index and RegoFix and Micron Tool and Zersch and Exeron. I mean, everywhere I go, there's something really amazing to see. Jumping over to Taiwan with the JTech group and seeing the Whaleys and the Takisawa, and then YCM as well with our own foundry. I love a foundry. Going through India and seeing Ace Micromatic making their own grassroots components at their own foundry for the last decade. It's just all of this truly, truly excites me. And so factories are often one of my favorite places to be because you see the birth, creation, investment, the tools, the years that are put into all of it. But as far as an end user, I had the great experience to go with Molding Machine over to Spirit Aerosystems. And Spirit Aerosystems is the largest tier 1 aerospace company in the entire world. Mm-hmm. And it was really cool to see the core and the shell of these giant planes that I fly in every freaking day being developed and then put onto a train to slide out of the building and be taken on to their next destination. So
it's amazing, all this new technology and this technology that is out there. It is so exciting to be involved in this manufacturing sector and seeing all the new technology. So, but looking at the different manufacturing operations and looking at the different countries that you tour. I mean, Tom, you're over in UK and doing Europe, and Tom, you're doing mostly US and Japan and Taiwan and Mexico and I forgot all the countries that you just mentioned. But is there a difference in the way how they're operating in the manufacturing, or is there a lot of similarities between the different countries and the way how they operate and the way how they produce and the ideas and everything else? And what I'm going towards is the labor force. I mean, we have over here this big issue in trying to find these experts, and we're trying to uncover stones and rocks to find these individuals that are going to be active in the next 20, 30 years. Is there a lot of similarities in the manufacturing sector between the different countries, or is there a lot of similarities? Tony, why don't you start us off?
Oh, here we go. Tom, I hope you remember the question by the time we get to you. We might.
I'm just going to get my pillow.
We might have to re-ask the question. Get that pillow. Because I love this question. I really do, Michael. It's one of my favorite questions because it's uniquely prescribed to people like Tom and I. Not everyone gets to travel the world. Not everyone gets to leave their country. Here in the U.S., we have a big country. Not everyone gets to leave their state. And when I was a machinist, I barely got to leave my machine shop. So I love this question because it is unique to all of our own perspectives and what we've seen. And I have a broader, let's say, perspective than a lot of folks based on traveling to, I would say, somewhere between 40 and 50 for manufacturing alone and somewhere above 80 at this point if you include manufacturing plus personal, right? You wouldn't think a place like Japan, for example, or you're in Germany, so you'll probably immediately disagree with what I'm about to say. But as a global perspective, you wouldn't think a place like Japan or Germany, Switzerland, these folks from a domestic perspective would say that we need help because you have an amazing apprenticeship program. Engineering is highly rated in these places and developed and maintained. But everywhere I go where people think they're doing a great job, you hear, I need help. That is almost synonymous globally. The only few places I've found that that's not true is places like India, where you have 1.5 billion people, and they're doing an amazing job creating awareness. The government has funded manufacturing. Some of the Asian Pacific countries, while they could definitely use a better, let's say, skills or management or know-how, the labor itself is accessible. So if you're able to press a button or do a lot of the labor work, there's no issue there. It's more about the management side of things. I went down to Brazil recently, and I had an interview with a young man who's in charge of a education system called Sinai. Sinai has 2.8 million students in it. 2.8 million.
Wow.
2.8 million. And what they do is really unique. And I'm going to probably mess some of this up. And I'm actually headed back in November to do one-on-ones with the teachers, the students, and the people in charge for an entire week in partnership with RegoFix. And we're going to do 5 different schools throughout the São Paulo area. And I'm going to learn more about how this is done and hopefully bring some of this information back to the U.S. to see if we can apply some of it here. But as far as my understanding goes, it's 2.8 million students. A lot of these folks are low-end to middle-class folks that come into the school system. The top 10% of those students get to move on to programming and aerospace and medical and some of the more difficult positions so if you're your first year, if you're in the top 15, 10, 20%, somewhere in that range, you move on to the next piece. But if you're in that 80%, you immediately go into the work as a button pusher, and you can learn along the way, but you don't immediately go into that next level of education. 2.8 million people. To bring this all together and to give Tom a turn and give him a moment to wake up and pull his pillow off his head, the whole world is different. The whole world is different, but I would say as a majority common ground, if you think of the top 10 to let's say top 10 to 12 manufacturing countries in the world, if you remove India from that top 10 to 12, everyone's looking for help and everyone's trying to figure out how to make manufacturing the forefront and understand that it's the backbone of every economy.
Tom, I give you 2 seconds because Tony.
Ask Tom the next question first, please.
Yeah, what's the next one? To go on from what Tony was saying, and the thing is, we all know Tony's a global traveller, so I cannot answer it anywhere near what Tony can. So I'd like to actually bring it back in-house and even talk about just the UK. If you go to the top of Scotland or to the bottom of Wales, it's different. Even in the same country, things are happening different. But like Tony was saying, everybody just wants a bit of help. Everybody needs a bit of help. But we are seeing slowly people are taking on more technology. People are finally asking for help. Because I think, and a lot of people will relate to this, where when even 3 years ago when I was on the shop floor, you did it in-house. And if you couldn't do it in-house, you found out how to do it in-house. There was more, people were like sitting on their pride a lot. Oh, I'm not going to ask for help because it makes me look weak. We will find a way of doing it. Where now, I think it's come a time where the older generation and the skills, we are starting to lose that. So people do need help, and even when you go to Europe, it's the same. Everybody's in the same boat, apart from like Tony was saying, India and things like that. But everybody's in the same boat. The older generation who has the skills is leaving. The new generation doesn't. You guys will be the same as me. I've got one little tiny story, nowhere near to the extent of Tony. Don't panic. Where I'd only been at MTD, I think a year, maybe a little bit longer. And I was walking down a machine shop. And as I was walking down this machine shop, I was with one of our cameramen and I'm saying, that spindle's too high, that cut's too much, you're feeding wrong, using the wrong tool, you're doing this, you're doing that. And the cameraman looked at me and just went, how do you know that? I was like, by listening. By listening to a machine, I can tell you exactly what's wrong with everyone. But yet, you've got people now who've been working in the machine shop for 5, 10 years who still can't do that.
Yeah.
So, and it was, what's good though, I have found, and I just want to take this on to technology a little bit, is something our friend Mr. Paul Scally was talking to me about the other day. People now are taking on technology to help with them problems. So he was telling me about the Tebi software and how you can get a seasoned engineer to program the Tebi software, and then you have an apprentice come in who then programs a part exactly the same as a seasoned professional because the software is there. And to me, it's taking longer than it should for people to adopt the software and trust the software, but we're getting there slowly. And I think that's the problem at the moment. We're very slow, and I think this is an industry problem across the board. You guys may agree or disagree, but we are slow to react to problems globally, and I think that's where everybody just needs a little push.
I think, Tom, this has a lot to do with pride. because a lot of
Oh, 100%.
the baby boomers that are currently going to be going into retirement. I'm not talking the generation that Tony is in. I mean, he's still fairly young, but they had this passion. They had this raw, powerful passion in order to make things work, and that's how they gained access to all of this knowledge over time. And of course, there is this pride of I have created this knowledge. Now, as soon as they want to leave and go to the golf courses and want to do all of those kind of things that they do in retirement, they don't think ahead and seeing how can I pass this information down to the younger generation, because it doesn't potentially cross their mind maybe. And then the younger generation comes in
100%.
thinking they know everything, and then realize that there is still a lot to learn from a lot of these old timers. Like you said, listening to the machine, seeing what it does, listening to the chatter and how the machine runs. You cannot teach that in an environment. You got to experience it.
I do think as well, there used to be, not anymore, well, not that I see anymore. There was another problem when I first started machining where the older guys, the baby boomers, like you said, didn't want to teach the younger generation because they didn't want them to take their jobs and didn't want them to take their money.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that was a problem globally, but it was definitely a problem over here, where they were like, if you were the only person who could run that machine, or you were the only person who could do that job, then you were paid more to do that. So you didn't want to share that knowledge in case you were then took off that.
I think this is slowly changing, though. I think I see a lot more of the
100%.
older generations really taking care of it, because they realize when they're no longer in this business, the younger generation needs to follow through. And you mentioned, Tony, that you're heading, I think, to Sao Paulo again in November and taping this entire week episode. What do you think? I mean, you've seen in the U.S. manufacturers are really aching for experienced labor and experienced young individuals. Unfortunately, we took machine shop out of the university, not university, but high schools already early on. So we don't have that. We don't build that passion in these young individuals anymore that they had way back when. But what do you see worked in some of those countries? And you mentioned that maybe you can bring those ideas back to the U.S. and implement that maybe here, because when I grew up in Germany way back when I was a young lad, they have this awesome apprenticeship program. And when I'm hearing through my colleagues in Germany too, that it has dried out, that well has dried out, there's not as many people flocking to this industry anymore. How can we revive it? And how can you put light to it so that people can realize what they need to do?
This conversation, it could be the entire podcast, honestly, Michael. Between you, Tom, and myself, it's like an onion, because every time you pull back one answer, there's 12 more questions that need to be answered. And so, firstly, let me just agree with you and Tom and say ego and fear will be the death of our industry. If we don't let go of our ego, and if we don't stop being afraid of change, it's going to be any machine shop's going to be done. Let's just let go of that first of all and start to embrace the idea of something new, and that we might be able to teach others and we might be able to learn from others. I think that's very important to understand. What I'm going to learn, I guess we'll find out. What I can bring back, I guess we'll find out. Some of the conversations that are happening here in the U.S., Michael, and you've hung out with us Americans long enough to see some of this is we had a generation that loved manufacturing. And then there was a decision that was made that we wanted cheaper products and we wanted everything to be made at cheaper prices, and we shipped it all overseas. In doing that, we created an upset group of people, let's say, who had really great jobs, and a lot of them lost their jobs. And those people then had kids, and those people are never going to teach their kids to go into manufacturing based on what they went through, because they lost all their jobs, regardless of how good it might be right now. So we have a movement currently that says, Let's create awareness. Well, this is where we get into the onion. What do we do? Is it social media? Is it giving symposiums at schools? In my opinion, one of the best things that we can do is get some of our best speakers together, supported by our largest and most important, I guess they're all important, so don't let me say that, but all of our associations that are willing to get together and support a movement. We get our best, most well-spoken 2 or 3, 4 people, we send them around the country, and we have them speak at middle schools and high schools, but not just to the students. You bring their parents in. You bring their parents in because if that student goes home excited in 6th grade and says, I want to make stuff, their parents going to go, you're going to university. And we have to convey the message that the ROI on going to trades over a span of a career is actually better than the average career coming out of a university, that you can immediately start making money, that these are the backbone of the economy. All of this is very important for the decision makers of the household to children to understand, so that they not only accept it, but embrace it and promote it, so that when they get excited about making things, they'll say, yes, go make a car and a plane and a satellite and everything around us that helps the world move. This is the passion that needs to go into it, or else we'll remain stagnant, as Tom mentioned, and you mentioned, slow to move. We are slow to adapt and make change, and if it sticks that way, as we are one of the slowest to do so because we're tried and true and we've made things and it's always worked that way, we will get stuck in a problem, and that will be an issue.
Yeah. And isn't that, one thing you just said there, Tony, isn't that the worst saying you can hear in manufacturing?
We all say it.
Always done it that way. You will hear that so many times, and it is the worst quote you can hear in a machine shop, because it means you're running on outdated views and technology if you've always done it that way.
No, both of you are 100% right, and we're losing this beautiful word and this beautiful operation called trade, or learning a trade that we all learned. I mean, I worked in a machine shop. Both of you guys worked in machine shops. We got our hands dirty. And the most important feeling for an individual is succeeding in making this job with your hands, and then later on telling your kids, I did this, I made this. That is a feeling that you cannot manufacture, that you can't get. It is just one of those things that I personally am missing right now because I'm on the software side of things. But before that, I was working on cars, making parts that are in there. Now I can only say, hey, I provided the product that made this rocket, then went up in the air and went boom. And that's essentially what I'm doing now. But the thing that amazes me every single day is how quickly we have changed our world right now, because I'm considering ourselves in the next industrial revolution because of this entire encroachment of AI, all this artificial intelligence, because we know, Tom, there is no real intelligence in our heads. I'm including myself here, Tom, so it's not just you. Only Tony is smart here.
Don't careful.
But this artificial intelligence, do you think that this will take over some of those gaps that we're missing in terms of that we don't have enough labor or workers in there, that AI will take over?
Obviously, I'll go before Tony gets going. Now we know AI is it's showing up in more places than people realise now. There's AI in CAD/CAM now, which people don't know of. There's ways to make things easier. So CAD programming, spindle monitoring, even visual inspection can now be done by AI. And if you want to go even further, supply chain forecasting is now done by AI. It's being used to help reduce scrap, shorten setup times, even recommend optimal tooling strategies. It's the problem is with AI, and I know for a fact you two will have heard this, is that AI will replace people, but it's not. If you go to any machine shop and talk to them, AI is actually empowering them.
Oh yeah,
because it's helping them not do the little jobs. The jobs that take the time out of them actually machining something, out of them making something. Or like you've got AI now to help order materials, do quoting, all them office jobs which people don't really want to be doing. They want to be on the shop floor, they want to be making things, they want to be helping customers. AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And I think people need to not be scared of it and embrace it and use it to its full advantage. Now, I heard a really good quote the other day on, well, it wasn't the other day, actually, it's quite a while ago now. It was a really good quote off LinkedIn. I can't even remember who wrote it, but it was talking about the skills gap, saying the skills gap isn't something we need to close, it's something we need to build a bridge over. So we need to find other. We're never ever gonna close that skills gap. We're not gonna do it. It is what it is. But we need to find ways around it, and AI can be a tool to help you get around it and become more productive.
Yeah, totally agreed.
Which is what all anybody wants to be. People want to be more productive and make more money, and that is the bottom line. So if AI can help you do that, why wouldn't you use it?
Agreed. Tony, what's your thought?
Yeah, I agree with everything Tom said and his viewpoints on where AI is being used. I'm going to take a step backward before taking a step forward and go back to that we're slow to adapt concept again. Can it do everything that Tom just described and that we know Tebis can do and the other softwares? I've worked with a lot of machine monitoring companies who are adopting it. I mean, just about everything can utilize AI, and certainly in moving forward will. Yeah. But I go back to the idea of we call them the silver hair generation at the moment, which some people say boomers, the ones that are retiring soon, right? You imagine that the majority of that group are machine shop owners. Yes. The majority of that group, and somebody will probably fight me in the comments when they hear this podcast, are slow to adapt. So are the owners who have the money are they willing to invest in the technology that allows them to build a bridge over a skills gap or a labor shortage, since we can't reduce it? Or are they going to stick to what they know until they retire and let the next generation figure it out when they're ready to own something? Mm-hmm. I have seen some incredible shops that are owned by mid-20-year-olds that have adopted all of this. They're running 15 machines with 2 or 3 people, and everything is AI and automated. However, as a majority rule, we still have this situation that we got to solve, and I don't know the answer to that. So the big, broad answer is yes, AI helps. It absolutely helps. The immediate answer of will it be adapted, we'll find out. And I think we need to. And I think it's a brilliant opportunity to do more with less, to make more money, create more profitability, efficiency, effectiveness, all these hashtags that we utilize regularly. But that's the conversation for me is how do we convey a message that this is a necessity and not just a want?
Yeah. I mean, AI...
And not a fad.
Right, and not a fad for sure.
Totally agree with you. I think AI is the most important item if it is utilized correctly in our lifetime and in what we're doing. Yes, it was highlighted early on in the 80s with Terminator and all this kind of things, but I'm not going to go there. I'm going to stay away from that. But I think AI has already been doing so much in the CAD/CAM business and in my business that we're in. There's a lot of utilization of that already that you don't even realize that it's doing this. And even in the machine, some of our clients, they're working with AI and CNC machines in order to produce a faster part in utilizing this AI concept. And I think it's a great tool. Yeah, heck, even AI makes me look good in pictures. I mean, there's a lot to that. But it's an important item that I think a lot of companies should embrace, should utilize it. The other thing that we've touched on quite a bit is what you, Tony, brought up earlier, this entire nasty business of tariffs. We just had a business of talking to one of the experts, actually several experts on these tariffs, which were empowering, enlightening, and it's not as scary sometimes as it seems. But give me your take, because you're seeing the manufacturing throughout the world. Obviously, how does these tariffs, do you feel that these tariffs are going to be for a long term there, or is it just going to be a short term decision making kind of thing in order to bring everybody to the table? What can we expect from your expectations or your viewpoint that you're seeing?
Let me first start this off by saying I am not an expert on this subject whatsoever. I don't watch the news.
First time I've heard you say that.
Well, I admit when I'm not, for sure. I am happy to admit when I don't know something, but I know the results of.
Can I get a clip of that, please?
Just be done?
Can I get a clip
you
of
may.
that? Just that one clip of I am not an expert. That'd be brilliant. I'm going to have it as my ringtone.
I'll wrap that for you, Tom, and I'll put a bone around it.
Yes.
How about that?
I think that's important to understand. I see the results of the tariffs, but I don't watch the news. For me to ever try to predict what that our president's currently up to, I would never have an idea because it changes from one day to the next, and I don't pretend to know. Are there conversations that are frustrating for people? Are people holding off on purchases? Are people concerned about their bottom lines? Are there... All of this is yes. Everywhere I go, people are hesitating to make machine sales or adapt new technologies or whatever questions that they have are currently not being answered. And I think where I sit, because I don't pretend to know, is where a lot of people sit. There's a lot of hopeful people. There's a lot of people that pretend to know. But I think most of us don't actually know. We just know how much jobs are coming in, how many jobs are leaving, what is being told on the news, and a whole lot of experts telling us things that aren't coming true. So I don't know.
The beautiful thing that I've seen already, being in the CAD/CAM business and being close to the manufacturing here in Detroit, as well as in Canada, I've seen a lot of the business come back. There are a lot of the mold shops that we're dealing with, as well as die shops. They're extremely busy right now. A lot of the work came in. When I talk to my Canadian counterparts that are over on the other side of the fence here, they're not as fortunate right now. They've got other troubles that are going on there right now that is maybe beyond their control or whatever that is. But one of the things that I've seen is, and I don't know if it's attributed to some of the tariff talks or if it's just some of the changeover. And I've seen a lot of companies moving towards the aerospace side of things because they're so frustrated with the automotive portion of it because it's this constant up and down that they're now venturing in the aerospace. In the UK, how is it operating there? What's going on there with this entire talk of how's business, labor, tariffs, all that kind of stuff in the UK?
Now, the problem is the tariffs remain unpredictable. We don't know what's happening from day to day. While over here they haven't dramatically reshaped most operations day to day, I think it's the uncertainty that's creating or making long-term planning more difficult. Yeah. Because people don't know what's around the corner, they can't plan for it. Which, like Tony was saying, people are then not buying that new machine, not buying that new piece of software because they just don't know. But I think the main problem right now is steel.
Yeah.
Steel pricing and availability at the moment, that seems to be a common pain point. Companies are closely monitoring it, but it is what it is. Rising steel costs, variable supplies are hitting many industries hard. Job shops and contractors can't now take a hit on the steel, which then means they're having to charge more for the work compared to bigger companies who can take that hit.
Yeah.
So then your smaller shops are really getting hit hard by these things. So it's a challenge, and it seems to be forcing a lot of your smaller shops to be more creative.
Right.
I've never seen it before, but recently on LinkedIn, I've seen companies actually asking other companies if they have steel they can buy. So instead of going to the supplier, you'll see a post on LinkedIn. Does anybody have any stainless steel 316 at 50 mil by 50 mil? Now, I've never seen that, but that's... Yeah. People are being more creative. They're trying to find things cheaper. And then,
let me check my garage for it and see if I can find one.
Yeah, well, that's it. But you actually mentioned something a minute ago, Michael, of your mold shops are now busy. Now, because Europe seems to be getting hit harder than we are, then we actually might become better off for it because people are going to come to us. European manufacturers are struggling under stricter energy costs, slower economic recovery. So globally, OEMs are actually looking towards the UK and North America as a reliable alternative for production and partnership. Where there is the problem of uncertainty and unpredictability, there also might become some positives from it that people who were sending work away now turn around and bring it back.
One of the things that I will guarantee you, Tom, I agree with you that there are some positives that come out of this. And especially when I look at, and I put a lot of emphasis onto the aerospace industry for the last 5 to 10 years. I'm putting a lot of effort in there. I'm now part of a aerospace task force with TEBIS and putting more emphasis on this because I think there is a lot of work out there for the aerospace. Boeing this has been a statement that I've heard over and over again. There's not enough machine shops in the U.S. in order for when Boeing comes out with a new airplane to produce all of those parts that have to go on there. There's not, period. So there's so much work out there in the aerospace industry that it's one of those things where we need to get on board with it and have companies diversify. There's nothing wrong with diversifying because if one industry goes down, the other one takes up the slack, and companies consistently have that cushion to fall back on when it comes to manufacturing. So I think aerospace, especially Europe, when I looked at some of the forecasts when it comes to the aerospace manufacturing and production in Europe, you will see that will increase or has started already to increase in countries like Portugal, in countries like Germany, in the UK as well. So there's a lot more manufacturing happening when it comes to the aerospace production, especially overseas too. And hopefully that will continue.
Now, I actually have a question for you two guys.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Now, I would like to join Tony on saying I'm no expert at this. I honestly just get through day to day. I do not watch the news because it's so scaremongering. But the one thing I do seem to find at the moment, if you look on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, or the machine shops we visit, is we seem to have two different sides here where you'll visit one machine shop who, like you said, will have more work than they can deal with, but they're keeping it in-house, they're doing it. But then on the opposite side, you'll have machine shops where you've got your top 5 active machinists sweeping the floor. There doesn't seem to be, at the moment, and that's what and this is my question to you guys, is if you are seeing the same, but I don't seem to see the machine shops that have enough work, to pass by. It's either all or nothing.
If I can answer that first before Tony takes the next half hour to explain his position on this.
Come on, guys.
No, but this is a reason for these associations like AMBA or some of these other ones. When I look at some of these members from these associations, they bind together and they help each other out. And I've seen that more often than anything else, that they help each other out in order to make sure that all of them have the ability to survive and on top of it, meet the milestones of the OEM afterwards. Tony, your half an hour?
I'll try to keep it short. That's a good answer, actually, and that's what associations are for, Mike. It's a really good answer. I've heard the rumors, Tom, same like you described, actually. But you know our job with MTDCNC, our job is to go into places and highlight success. So a lot of the people who are opening their doors to us are going to be the ones that are winning right now. And you're right. There's a lot of folks who have more work than they can handle almost. I mean, it's certainly not going down. If anything, it's going up. And they're and going back to the conversation of do the tariffs affect investments? Yes, but people are thriving off of the current technology. But we see a lot of it with people who are certified in the things to help them work on DoD and aerospace and medical and these types of certifications that place them apart. The ones who made investments in precision machines that allow them to get products done inside of one machine instead of 5 machines with shorter lead times and, all of this stuff that goes into it, being able to have a quality CMM room, being able to communicate information to potential clients through machine monitoring and say, hey, we know for a fact your job's going to be done 2 days ahead of time or 2 days late, but we know exactly where it is. Communication is key. The rumors are that it is exactly as you described here, Tom. It is. Some people have their 5-axis machinists and programmers are sweeping floors. I would make the discussion, although I haven't been inside of it, but I've spoken with a ton of people like EBITDA Growth Systems, who is a consulting company. As Michael just said, a lot of these associations, we have one of them on our sleeve, the NTMA, largest precision manufacturing association in the country. We talk with the AMT people on our other sleeve, who is IMTS. That's what those associations are for. And actually, this is a great conversation for anyone who's listening right now who is struggling in their machine shop and not a part of an association, join one. This is the time where people come together and share their ups and their downs so that everyone can succeed. So get into an association, and NTMA is about to have Engage. Go be a part of that. These are important things to understand. PMPA, I love those folks as well. I could name drop all of them if I wanted to. I don't think we have time, but Michael, great point. Tom, I see the same thing you do. We're only going into the ones that are thriving, but I've definitely heard the rumors of where there's not being success right now.
Right. You know what? I could go on and on and on with you, with both of you. We need to do this more often, gents. I mean, this is phenomenal. Getting you two guys together, having this this back and forth, and seeing the different countries, and this is beautiful. Having you, Tom, in the UK, sitting there in your shed with your 3D printer going on like crazy, and Tom is displaying all of his gadgets and gizmos behind him, and books and things and whatnots. I mean, this is fun. This is what people need to realize, that there's a lot of fun in manufacturing. There's a lot of pride in manufacturing, and we need to get the young generation to have that same pride that we have when it comes to this manufacturing. This is the reason why we're doing this podcast, to shine light on some of those things that you don't usually hear, because a lot of our manufacturers are stuck in their four walls, and they manufacture their parts from day morning till day late, and they don't see the additional things that are going on. And that's why we're doing this. So any last thoughts? Tom, I'm going to say you first, because the last thoughts that Tony has are very to the point and are just genius.
Sure. Thank you. Wow.
I put that nicely.
You did.
It's been really good. I've really enjoyed it. It is great to hear from you guys, and it is great to hear that the problems we're having isn't just UK based.
Correct.
It's worldwide, and we need a global solution. And yes, as you can see, I have the printers running in the background just because I wanted to go back and make something. I couldn't really fit a CNC machine in here, so this was the next best thing. And so I think education is a massive thing, to educate people on every single thing you see, you touch, you do is being manufactured.
Absolutely.
And I think podcasts like this that will show and tell people are brilliant. So, Michael, thank you to you for allowing me on here.
Tony, any last thoughts from you?
Yeah, of course. You know me. Firstly, let me say thank you. Thank you for the warm introduction. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for allowing me to hang out with a colleague that I never get to see as well. I think you've seen him more recently than me. Thank you for the questions. For anyone who's listening right now, I think in summary, it's to let go of the ego, let go of fear, embrace technology. We're all going through something similar. Join your association if you need to. I think we're all headed in the right direction. I see a very, very bright light. I see a lot of good coming from this. Tom mentioned steel being sold on LinkedIn. What we always have been forever is resilient. Manufacturing has always been a resilient people that will figure it out. We always have. We always will. Even if we have to fight to do it, we're going to make it happen. But if things can be easier, if we can invest in AI, pay attention to AI, talk with the younger folks within our machine shop to help us understand what we don't know as we've gotten older and they grew up born with a phone and an iPad in their hands. Things like this help us grow quicker and be a part of the future of manufacturing, and not just the past or the love of manufacturing, but what it can become. So for everyone listening, thank you for listening. And I hope that some of this resonates with you. Obviously, it won't all resonate, but we're all in this together. And if you have any questions for Tom, myself, or Michael, reach out anytime. We're never too busy, although it took us 1.5 years to get this podcast together. We're never too busy to spend a little time with you and answer some of the questions you might have. As both Tom and I mentioned, we didn't know anything when we stepped out of our machine shops. We knew what we knew, and that was it. There's a million other people out there going through the same thing, and we're here for you. If you find us valuable, we're here for you.
Awesome. Tom, Tony, both of you, a huge thank you from a humble person over here that listens to you guys and tries to find you wherever you are, if that's through your podcast, through your videos, through your conversations and talks. I thank you both for what you're doing in the industry and how you're highlighting our manufacturing operations. and making it interesting and fun for our technology. In essence, Tony Gunn and Tom Skubala are a major voice in the manufacturing world, using his expertise in engaging communication style to connect and inform people about this vital industry. Thank you to the both of you.
And thank you.
Thank you.
With that said, I can't frame it any better than what Tony has already said. The manufacturing industry is a thriving and interesting and exciting industry to be in. Get involved. If you have a shop and you're not part of an association, get associated. There are a lot of friends out there that want to help you, that can help you. And look at all the different technologies that are there. There might be a machine that you haven't even heard of before. Look at them, what they're doing, and just get involved in this particular industry. If you're a youngster, this is the industry for you. You can build something with your hands, get involved, have fun, and we'll see you on the other side. If you have any ideas, any thoughts, send them to us. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode on the All Access podcast. We hope you found the discussion insightful, fun at times, and of course, valuable. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast. Feel free to share your episode within your network. And for updates, look us up on Instagram and LinkedIn. Until next time, keep shaping the future of manufacturing. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Thank you for joining this episode of All Access. Please leave a comment or review with your feedback or what you'd like to hear in future episodes. To learn more about manufacturing technology solutions and Tebis's capabilities, visit our website at Tebis. That's TEBIS.com.